You're tuned in to Just One Hot Mom with host Nanika Ansari. Get ready. She's about to bring you that fire, that flavor, that heat, all that passion, and more from around the world and in your neighborhood. Stay tuned.
Hey, hotties, you are tuned in to Just One Hot Mom, and I am your host, Nanika Ansari, and it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You are alive, and that is something to be grateful for. So let's get into this. So you guys know that I think it's been like a month ago, I had Marlia Hall on, and we were talking about the wait and what she did during the wait, like how she waited on God to reveal to her what she needed to do in order to capture her husband. Well, in the studio with me, I have Marlia's husband, Manny Hall. Hey, so I thought it was only fair that we give Manny the opportunity to tell us what he did during the wait. So Marlia was waiting, she was single, she had 2 kids, and then Manny was waiting. So you were waiting, but in your wait, your journey was a little bit different because you were once married.
Right.
Okay, and so you got a divorce. So how was that to be single again after divorce? We always hear the lady side, we don't hear the guy side.
Yeah, well, it downright sucked.
Really?
Most of the time. And then I finally kind of got to this point where I was like, cool, where I really didn't want or need anybody. But before that time, I can honestly say that it wasn't like I was thirsty for somebody, but it was more so like, Dag, what's up? Like, I really never wanted to be divorced in the first place, but hey, this is where we are. But I was really like grinding, really trying to solidify my business and really understand who I was now after the marriage. Because it's like, what I really learned from being married is that you sort of lose yourself in hopes of really trying to become who this other person needs you to be and wants you to be. So it's like, for me, like I was always that guy that I'll buy 2 different toothpastes. One for you, one for me. Because I didn't want to share.
Is that a guy thing?
I don't know, like,
I'm
I
not
don't want
going to
to share my stuff.
Why don't y'all like to share? It's toothpaste.
I feel like you probably are going to close the thing and leave some toothpaste residue under it or around it. And I don't really like that. So I know how I want it. Like, I'm going to close it all the way. I'm not going to be rolling. I'm going to squeeze, and then I'm not going to turn.
You know what? I can't do it.
It's all that kind of stuff.
But do you think that caused a disconnect? Like, do you think from the jump? No, not just that, but the whole separate thing. Like, I still like things this way.
Yeah.
And so we can't get on the page about this. Do you think that caused a disconnect in the relationship?
You think with the ex-wife?
I'm just curious. I don't know.
Well, it was much more with her and I because she was fine with that, actually. Like, she was cool with the separation. Like, fine, you got your own stuff. We cool. We happy, whatever. But with the divorce, it was more so. And I remember when I was actually interviewing Robin Hill on my show, and I kind of talked about my situation, my divorce then. But it was more so about she changed religions. Like, we're
that's
both
a big
we're both Christians. And we weren't perfect. We didn't have the best relationship, but it was somewhat going. And then she wanted to try something new. And I was fine with trying it and listening, but I didn't want to all the way convert to being a Jew.
No, I totally get that. So that's a real breakdown. That's more than toothpaste. That's more than soap.
That was a lot.
That's a lot. So how did being married and then going back into the dating scene impact how you dated? Like, did you have a list, a resume that you wanted to date by? How did that come about?
Well, what was interesting, shout out to my dude, Harrison Gilmer. He, real close friend of mine years and years ago, probably like 10 years ago now. He had me go upstairs in his study room, and him and his wife was like, hey, write down your list of what you want in a wife. So I was like, I had heard something like that before, but I was like, I ain't really on that. Like, that's not going to work. It's kind of stupid. People just try it out. So within doing, I really prayed, and God really began to reveal what I really needed and wanted. So I put those things down. And then years later, he kind of came back to fruition. So, after the divorce and then trying to get back in the dating scene, I honestly, was that guy, trying to see different girls on Facebook, Instagram, and if I thought they were cool, I like what they were doing, I would at least try to get to know them.
Were you in somebody's DMs?
I was in a couple of DMs. I was in the DM and I was in the Facebook Messenger for a little bit, but I didn't hang around there too long. But after my wife and we met at that conference, like before then, it was probably like around April, that I made a declaration on Facebook and just like, I'm done with being with anybody. Like, I'm cool. Like, even if I never get married again, whatever. Like, I'm just really focused on doing what God wanted me to do and trying to get this business together and work on my books, blah, blah, blah. And, I got, like, a lot of responses because, like, most of the time you don't hear that speech from a guy on Facebook or Instagram. So once I did that, I was cool. I didn't really want anybody sincerely. But then ended up meeting her in October. So
in your weight process, like you were focused on building your business, discovering who God wanted you to be. Did you find that you struggled with that though? Like, was it hard because there was so much temptation out there that, you struggled in your weight process to keep your declaration alive?
No, not really. Cause I kind of got to the point where I was cool. Like I think that some frustration came because I think I had like some interest in a couple of females that I wanted to date, and like they was kind of pushing me to the side. So I was like, you know what? I'm cool on all of y'all. Forget it. I don't even want nobody then. Whatever.
That's how guys do you. They like that. Yeah. Do you. A girl might go after you a little bit more. Guys like, you know what? If you rejected me, I don't like this rejection.
I'm not on it. But I think through that process, it became kind of easy once I really decided. Before that time, it was hard because my ex-wife and I had been separated for like 2.5 years. So even though I was still legally married, it still was like
you were still like dating.
Well, not necessarily dating, but like I would have interest in people. Yeah, I would have interest, but I just wasn't necessarily like dating anybody. Like I went to dinner with a couple of people, but it was still like, nah, bro, you still married. And I'm like, well, yeah, I am still married, so we can't really do nothing until this gets done. So that was that.
So I'm so glad that you said that, though, because I think that only women think that we struggle in the waiting process. And that's why I thought it was important to have you come on to say a guy's perspective of how you guys act in the waiting process. Like, I think that we make an assumption that you just go all out, like you live your best single life yet. And it's not necessarily like that for men.
No, and I think if you're trying to do the right thing, not even from a Christian perspective, like if you morally are trying to not be slutting out here with different people.
You said that.
Then going down that road, that can really be difficult, and not trying to get too philosophical here, but
no, but go ahead, rip the Band-Aid off.
So like years and years ago, I read a book from Socrates, and he talked about morals and how if I don't think something is bad morally for me, it doesn't matter how much you think is bad and how you try to convince me, I would never morally think that this particular thing is wrong.
Okay.
So in that sense, it's like, as we have this discussion, the guy's perspective is always going to be different based on his beliefs and morals. And I'm learning that it's not even so much their religion, because even people that have a strong faith in God or Buddha or Allah, whatever, they still gonna believe and have their own morals. Just like we know in the Christian church, there's so many different denominations. So it's like everybody might say that they're a believer, but they're believing something different.
So interpretation.
Yeah. So my belief from the next guy's belief might be totally different on singleness, weight, and all that stuff. We might be guys of the same faith or whatever. So for me personally, I know that it definitely was hard in terms of trying to do the right thing, because the opportunity was out here to meet some girls that I didn't really like, but just wanted to have sex with, wanted to do sexual things with, wanted to date them and just have some kind of company. But I realized even back then that those things were just planting seeds for me that I didn't want in the future. So it's almost like you taint yourself by having all these different people around you. And we talked about soul ties, but most of us look at soul ties in the sense of this sexual context, or like, all right, I kissed them, or I was around them laying up, and so now I got a soul tie. But I really believe that those soul ties and those stains can come on you just by interaction, because it's like I'm spending so much time communicating with you, letting you know who I am, and a piece of me now is lost.
And see, I love that you said, I like the fact that you used the word staying, because people often don't realize, like, I may not be connected to you physically, but now I've left emotional stuff with you.
Absolutely.
I've left a piece of myself, because let's be honest, when you start, even if you just start dating somebody casually, eventually you're going to reveal something about yourself that's private, something that you probably wouldn't normally reveal to anybody else.
Absolutely.
And so I'm so glad that you used that. I think I'm going to use it from now on. Like, you left a stain here, you know, and some stains you can't be removed.
That's real.
So here it is. You are in your singleness. You made this declaration. You go to this conference and boom, there she is. What was the first thing you thought about when you saw Marlia?
I always tell people, like, even when I say this particular part at churches, like, there was a cuss word. I can't remember what it was. It came through my head when I first seen it. I was like, that girl cold. Like, who is she? And then what was funny is, like, before the conference, I looked on the flyer, because there was a bunch of girls on the flyer. I was the only guy. So I'm like, let me see who's going to be up at the conference. Maybe I can meet somebody, you know? And when I looked on the flyer, I didn't see nothing I liked at all.
So these are just a bunch of women you was doing the conference with.
But then this girl she was like going to use the bathroom, and I'm like, dang, she look good. And I was talking to somebody, and I like totally disengaged from them, and we just kept staring at her. And then I ended up giving her my business card, saying, hey, if you need help writing your book. She finally wrote the book. Congratulations, Marlia.
We're going to shout Marlia out. Loving Me, Single and Free is Marlia's first book. That's right, husband. Support your wife. Sure. And I got my signed copy today. You guys make sure you go and get yours. I am so excited to read this. So you were supposed to be working with her to write her book. There was not supposed to be any relationship happening.
But we ended up meeting at Panera Bread, and
Panera Bread is where people, you know, that's the hookup spot now. Panera Bread and Starbucks.
I like Panera Bread a lot. It's a good spot. But you know, we met there and we're talking. We ended up taking some selfies together, and then it was funny because, like, on my Instagram page, I always like put a lot of like encouraging things regards to relationships, and I started just writing about her, like, on my posts.
So I like a good love story, so y'all gonna have to go with this.
Yeah.
So how did you know, though, like, when you met her, you see her and you're like, whoa, this chick done totally took me out my hookup. She's made you cross your declaration. What was it about her? Like, because there are women out here right now who are like, oh, there's nobody out here for me. Nobody's gonna look at me that way. Yeah. What was the thing about Marlia that changed the game for you?
Yes, that's a great question. So I don't know. It's like, it's so interesting. It's like, I hate to follow down that fairy tale path, but
some
like
when
I saw her, like, I just was like real captivated, and I don't know. It's like I knew she wasn't perfect, and you know what? I'm gonna say this, and I think this is the first time I really understand this finally for the first time right on your show.
Thank you. Exclusive.
Before I met my ex-wife, when I started dating her, I kept praying about my wife, and I kept saying, God, like, tell me, like, if this is it, this girl that I'm dating, like, tell me about my wife, you know. And he kept saying, she's not perfect. She's not perfect. She's not perfect. And I was just like, okay, like, all right, I know this girl ain't perfect, whatever, you know. But I never really believed that it was supposed to be her, but it was always Marlia. So he was saying, she's not perfect, talking about her.
Talking about Marlia.
Yeah, but not my ex-wife. So I took that she's not perfect, like, okay, well,
that's just anybody. Nobody's going to be perfect.
Right, got it, you know.
But not in the sense of the woman that was meant for you.
Exactly. So it's just like, with Marlia, like, we had talked like that first week or so. By like, we met in November. By like January, I told her, like, we're going to get married. You're going to fall in love with me.
See, okay, so here's a question I want to ask you, because I didn't ask I had the man code on here. I didn't ask this question.
Yeah.
Do men really know off the rip if they want to make a woman their wives or not? Because we always hear these, you know, we hear all these relationship experts tell us, you know, you have people on here telling us, if a man don't take it. So does a man really know when he meets a woman if that's going to be his wife?
I believe that he can. I can't say that all cases do.
See, ladies, I wanted him to bust that myth for us, because I think we get fed this story like, oh, if you stay with him for 5 years and he hasn't married you by now, you know, then you're not the one for him. But that may not necessarily. All men are not the same. We need to get that out of our head.
They're really not the same. Because and within like those first few days, I was just like, I really want to marry her. And then like after time, I knew this, like, this is it. Like, I'm going to piss her off sometimes. I already know. Like, because I'm not perfect, like, and I can be irritating, and she going to get frustrated with me because I'm not perfect and I have a past in different areas. And I was like, I don't know all her life, but I'm pretty sure she going to do the same to me. But it's like, I never want to walk away from her. And it's like, that support is like, for the guys listening, every female is crazy. Like, that's just flat out the truth. All of y'all are crazy in some unique way, but it's just like how much.
Let's not say crazy. Let's say a little, and we're different. Okay. We're a little special. Okay, you can
based
say
on
crazy.
the definition of crazy,
Fine.
I would say that some men and women, we both fit in that category.
You're right, ladies. I have to let them say it because he ain't lying.
Yeah, so it's just like you have to really ask yourself, fellas, and ladies, think we have to ask ourselves this: how much crazy can you deal with?
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's going to have some issues. What kind of issues and how much of an issue can you deal with? Because when Marlia told me, like, the first couple of weeks and stuff about her past, I was just like, okay, cool. She's like, are you serious you can deal with that? Like, yeah, we good. Like, let's go.
And see, I think that's what we don't look for. We release our past to people, like sharing that part of ourselves with people, and they don't say they can deal with it. We just assume that they can deal with it. Then later on down the line, when it comes up again, we discover that they can't deal with it.
And that's why I always like tell people that I coach, and primarily women, like, say your stuff up front, because it's almost like an interview. And you have this interview with this particular employer. They're asking you questions to see if you're going to be a good fit, but then you're going to ask them questions too, like, all right, so what are my hours be? Like, I know y'all can't tell me to pay, but like, what's the culture going to be like? Where would I work at? This location that I'm meeting you at, or it will be somewhere else? And you're asking those questions to see if not only are you a good fit for the organization, but if they're a good fit for you. But I think when relationships, especially with women, we don't do that. You guys don't do that because you're afraid of scaring the guy away or pushing him away, or he's not going to be interested anymore. But you ask those questions right up front, like, listen, I got 3 kids, 3 different baby daddies. I had these issues before. I had this disease back in the day. It's gone now, but I had it.
Yes.
Like, my hair ain't all long like that. Can you deal with that? I'll be wearing weave. This, what you see right here, is weave. I know it look good, but it's really weave. Can you deal with all of that?
But see, I think, and I'm going to speak from the lady's perspective, and I'm not every lady, but I think that sometimes, especially when you're going from one relationship to the next, that it's out of desperation that you are just like, okay, I'm going to be able to and willing to put up with everything, but you're not.
No,
and so when you discover that you can't, it's when you have that heartbreak and you're like, ugh. So I can appreciate the fact where you're like, okay, let me let her list all her issues. And I know you knew it might even be more issues than that, but you were still like, okay, I'm willing to help you unpack your stuff.
Like, she told me, and I'm not going to say what it was, but
Marlia, I'm not telling him to release your information.
She ended up telling me, like, probably 3 or 4 months after we were dating, I already said I wanted to marry her, like some real deep stuff about her life and her past. And I was just like, well, shoot, like, why you ain't tell me that earlier? She's like, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's cool, like, it's a shot, but I ain't going nowhere. Forget it.
And see, I think that's what everybody is looking for, is that I'm not going anywhere. And I think when you take the time to really have a conversation with a person and they can really see who you are, when you can take off all the makeup, all the weave, when you can take off that superhero mentality and just be vulnerable and allow people to see you for who you are, then if they don't stick around, then don't be okay with that.
And it's like, if you can get out of my life quicker, that's great for me.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
On that one.
Like, I don't want to have to wait years for you to leave me. Like, just go in a couple of months. So that's why, like, I would rather a young lady just divulge her information, not so much to have her business out here in these streets, but look, you like this guy, you're going to have to make some kind of investment. Your investment is telling him about who you are. And when you do that, you can see if he can handle that or not. And you need to learn about him. Like, really get to know him. Like, is he a recovering cheater? Is he horrible with money? Like, does he have real bad debt? Like, my wife married me and I had bad debt and she didn't like it, but we still working on it right now. But that's one of the issues that I brought to the table that she has to now deal with and take on. Like, I had an ex-wife and a baby mama. Shout out to the baby mama and ex-wife. But they're a part of my life and they're not going nowhere.
And so that's the thing that I think sometimes we, men and women, we set ourselves up for failure because we're not willing to accept what people sometimes tell us. Like I was telling a couple ladies that I said, sometimes a man will tell you directly to your face that he only wants certain things from you. And you won't be willing to accept it. You'll be thinking that you could change his mind. And you really cannot.
Because like girls, women, young ladies, whatever you want to call it, like I think that you guys sometimes like to take on projects.
Oh, okay. Guys don't like to take on projects. I'm asking this question because I really do think that is the case. Sometimes I think we feel like we're nurturers by nature. So it's like I can nurture you up out of your problem.
It's more so like as a guy, we will take on the projects, but because God has called us to be leaders, even if they don't know that, what we like to do is lead the project. Meaning that instead of me taking on a project and have a specific role inside this project, like you could be just a resource for the project to get the project done. That's what I feel that sometimes ladies are. But if you're a project manager, then at that point, now you want to lead the project and assign tasks to the resources to get the job done. So what we do is say, boo, you need to change these particular things. And guess what? I'm not changing at all. But then what you guys like to do is, okay, I am a resource for this project. I'm not the leader of it. I'm going to try to get this changed. I'm going to try to get this task done. And you guys take on that task of trying to change us, knowing or not knowing that we're not going to change at all because we don't want to. And the only way we're going to change is if we want to change ourselves. So
I think we see those signs early on, but it's nice and refreshing to hear it from somebody. Because if you guys didn't know, Manny is your relationship coach. You're a coach, and so it's nice to hear from somebody else. Like you can't change somebody who's not willing to change,
and really, like you can't change at all. Like my wife probably listening. Like there have been so many times within our marriage. We've been married almost 2 years now. We've tried to change each other, and it just don't work at all. Like, I've been trying to change her for some particular things. Like, I'm like, babe, I don't like the way you say this, or I don't like the way you do this, or I didn't like this, and I don't like that. And then she tries to work on it, but she might revert back to that same person because she's really not trying to change for herself.
See, and you have to change for yourself. You can't change for somebody else. See, I'm so glad you said that. I was like, because people change. But, you have to actively want to make that change for you.
Exactly, because it's just like our kids. Like, if they don't see the value in cleaning their room, they'll never keep the room clean if you don't tell them to. You'll always have to go and say, hey, clean your room, clean it. But it's like when somebody sees the value of doing something for themselves or how it really will benefit somebody else, they're not going to have consistent change. It's just like fear. So we know that with our children, we can scare them. We can make them fearful to do whatever we want them to do. But when the fear is absent, they don't care about your rules no more. If that's the way you do it. But if they see the value and you explain to them, here's why you need to change. Like, my wife is great at doing that. Like, she'll show me the benefits. Like, I'll feel more loved when you do this. When you talk to me better, like, I'll feel more nurtured. I'll feel safe with you. Like, I will want to come in your arms, like I want to chill with you.
And that's the thing, ladies. We need to find a guy, and for gentlemen, you need to find somebody who you can have those safe conversations with, who won't release all of your information, who you can trust. But because I'll still say it for men and women, I think we get that desperation that we have to be in a relationship. We're scared to be alone if we're honest with ourselves, and so we get involved with people who we have no business being involved. I think I admitted this on Facebook Live. It's like I was like, I didn't want to be alone. So I was like, well, I'm going to go out on dates with whoever. And whoever came along, I did. And I was like, that was probably one of my biggest mistakes. I was like, God was like, you're asking me these questions to send you a person. And I keep telling you to move so-and-so out the way so you can meet this person. But because you're so busy not paying attention. So let's go back, though. So your friends asked you to create this list. Did Marlia meet that list, or was she the completely opposite of that list?
Yeah, like she meets it. And I don't know exactly what was on it. But when I recall some of the things I said is, I want this person to have gone to church, but not for a long, long time. I wanted this person to have some issues that we can work through the issues with.
Okay, we have a caller. Hi, caller. You're on with Just One Hot Mom. How are you? Hello? Oh, they hung up. Okay, well, please feel free to call back. If you guys want to call in, the call-in number is 440-252-0518. And I'm on with Manny Hall, and we're just discussing his process during the wait. Now, you waited. How long did you wait before you decided to go back and date? We should ask that question in the beginning. But how long did you just wait?
Yeah, so, again, like being separated for about 2.5 years, I didn't have, like, dating on my mind, but like I did like talk to people in like hopes that after the divorce that you will somehow still be around a little bit. But
that's that alone thing I was talking about. That was that like I don't want to be alone. So I was like, how long do we actually be alone before we start jumping into somebody else?
And I think that it can really be different for everybody. I don't think that there has to be a certain amount of time. Some people would say, like, well, you need to not date for a year or two after you got divorced. But it's just like, I got divorced, and then I think maybe like 7 or 8 months later, but maybe like 5 months after that, that's when I made that declaration, and then I ended up meeting my wife. Now, I could have said, oh, when I met her, no. I got like 6 more months, so I can't. I hope you're around in 6 more months because I can't say nothing to you right now. But no, I was just like, no, like, this is it. I'm going to talk to her and see. Because you know what? Honestly, I got to the point where I got free from other people's opinion in that particular area. That was just like, you can talk about me as much as you want to, but I'm still about to enjoy my life.
And see, I think that's the most freeing thing, when you free yourself from what other people think you're supposed to do. That's what people all say, like, you should just date yourself for a minute. Figure out who you are outside of being in a relationship, and then you can determine what you bring to the table and what you want brought to the table. But the moment that we just jump from relationship to relationship to relationship, I think we clutter ourselves. And so we like are hoarding. Okay, we have a caller. Hi, caller. You're on with Nanika. Sorry, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Who's this?
This is Marlia.
I knew it was her. Hi, Marlia. You see how she bogart your interview,
Hey, babe, do I look good on the camera?
Oh, my goodness. You look so good. I cannot wait for you to get home. You look amazing.
I will not be a part of y'all. Y'all not going to pull me in on this one. Hi, Marlia. What is your question for your husband?
Okay, my question for the both of you guys, but babe, so do you have any advice for women or for men who have recently got out of a relationship or a marriage? Is there something that they should be doing in preparation for the next person? Like, is there any like detox phase or anything? Like, you guys already said there's not exactly a time limit that you should put on, but are there some things that they should maybe be assessing or something like that before they hop back on the dating scene?
Let's see, I like her question. What, you want to go first since it is your wife?
Yeah, I'll go first. That's a great question. So I personally think that there is some detox that you need to go through. And again, there's no time limit on that. It's like really, it could be a quick work, but it could take a little bit of time for you. But you do need to do some self-evaluation to see what worked, what didn't within that marriage or dating relationship. If you continue to go down the same path with people, if that person that you were just dating is just like everybody else, just with a different face, you have to really begin to see, how am I in relationships? Like, am I rushing relationships? Am I patient in relationships? Like, do I really want to marry someone? Who am I? Like you were saying earlier, Nikki, like I had to really get to a point during that time where I understood me a lot better. And that was really me saying that, you know what, honestly, I suck at relationships.
And see, I think I'm going to piggyback on that. My good friend Clotia always tells me that dating is collecting data. Sometimes you need to collect data on yourself. See, we rush off with other people. We let them determine who we are, and we don't really know ourselves. So until you really know yourself, how do you know what you like, what you want, what you don't want? If you suck at relationships, you know, we don't know ourselves, so we don't seek help for the things that we need to correct. So my big thing is, before you get back out there, is know thyself first.
Yeah.
Like, and it's date yourself. Go to a restaurant. Don't be afraid. I think dating requires you to step so far outside of your comfort zone that you have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then you get over that uncomfortable part and then you're ready to approach somebody
And like
else.
you can really have a lot of fun, like just dating by yourself. Like because I was like naturally a selfish person, I felt great, like not having nobody around. Like I could buy myself something to eat. Don't gotta share with no woman. Ain't gotta take her out nowhere. I go to the movies. It's just me. I get as much popcorn. I'm not sharing the popcorn because Marlia be eating all the popcorn. The last time we just saw Black Panther, she ate all the popcorn. I looked over and I'm like,
Marlia, I got your
babe,
back.
you ate more popcorn than I did. Like, jeez.
But I think too, it's like you really do some self-discovery. Like Marlia said, her and Jesus was going to the movie, so you might not have popcorn like Jesus had.
But you know what, like, and I'm gonna say this point in regards to that part because I remember last year sometime we had a discussion about Jesus, and I was just like, you know what, babe. Sometimes I can become jealous of your relationship with Jesus.
Oh, that
like
takes a brave man to admit.
Yeah, because like really, her having this close relationship with him, and then now we're married, and she's like, all right, well, I'm about to go pray. Like, here you go talking to dude again. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I appreciate the fact that you're spending time with God. I appreciate the fact that you're reading your word, that you want to meditate, but it's like, babe, I wanted to have sex with you. I wanted to go on a date with you. And you talking about you and Jesus spending time right now. So
Jesus,
I really had
Manny's right over there.
I had to really learn to balance it. We had to talk through that. Like, what's some appropriate times for you to still get your God time in, but still get some Manny time.
But I'm glad you brought that up too, because it's all about balance in relationships too. Like not just with your spirituality, but with everything, with work, with children, with your me time. Because even in a relationship, I think one thing, and you mentioned it earlier, we lose our self-identity. And so when you lose yourself, you become a different person. And they didn't meet that different person. They met you knowing yourself. And so if I get into this relationship and I change to be this different person that you don't like, I need to go evaluate and get my me time in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm a real big thing on like, dating yourself, collecting that data and getting it together. Hotties, we're going to take a short break. I'm on with Manny Hall and we are talking relationships and the weight. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey hotties, welcome back. This portion of the show is brought to you by the Beautiful One Boutique. It's your paparazzi beauty consultant, Chanel. If you want to reach out to her and get your fashionable, affordable jewelry, call her at 216-905-7960. That's Chanel Step at 216-905-7960. All right, so during the break, Manny and I were having a good discussion. And so this is totally off topic about what we were going to talk about, but I like the way we're moving. So we were talking about independent women and independent men, and we kind of broke into that when we talked about how you like going to the movies by yourself. It's just certain way you like things to be. How is it, though, for a man, and what do you think it is we as ladies are doing as independent women? Like you said that they don't like that. Like men don't like when you have to shout that you're an independent woman. What is that? Why is that a turnoff?
I think that like in terms of you being independent as a single woman, that's fine. And even as you transition into maybe a committed relationship, even engagement. But if you still are bringing in a residue of your independency inside a marriage, then that can be very dangerous.
Okay, so we have a caller. Hi, caller. You're on with Nanika and Manny. What can we do for you?
Hi, good evening. First of all, I love the show.
Thank you.
Very, very relevant topic you're discussing. Manny, one quick word of advice. One thing you can do during those times when you were saying that you wanted to be with your wife and she was off praying, spend that time with her doing the same thing. That's one thing maybe you all could do together. I'm sure you do, though, but
absolutely.
I was just thinking about that while I was listening to you. But I got a question to ask. My name is Roland. I'm calling from University Heights. My question is twofold when as far as relationship is concerned. Do you think that it causes a problem if one person in the relationship is pouring out into their partner, but then that same person does not want to receive back when that partner wants to pour back into them? That's part one. And part two is how difficult, and I don't know if you would put it on a scale from 1 to 10, but how difficult is it to be in a relationship with someone who has self-esteem issues?
Hey, you want to?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna go ahead with the first part.
Okay, so for the first part, and I'll try my best, Roland, to remember your second part, because the first one is really big by itself. But I definitely think it can be difficult, and it's a problem if you're trying to pour into someone and they're not receiving that. It can be very, very problematic for that relationship, even if it's a marriage. And I've actually been in relationships like that in the past where that has happened. And I can honestly say that part of the issue for me was if I put restraints on that relationship or I made that person feel unsafe, then it didn't really matter how much I was pouring into them, godly stuff or wisdom or stuff that they needed, they weren't going to be receptive because it's no longer a safe place. And on the other end of it, I was trying to pour out. They weren't ready to receive what I had to say, and I had to use wisdom to really be able to step back and say, okay, they don't want to receive this. Maybe I'll give it to them in smaller doses, or maybe I'll just pray that God will have his way in these particular areas that I feel that they need some feedback in.
And we have to remember, too, that everybody is going through their own growth process. And as fast as your growth process is, theirs isn't. So that when you're pouring, like we receive information and we want to share it with the people we love. But sometimes, like you just said, the people that we love are not ready for that information. And so you think that you're just pouring into something and they're just letting it flow, but they're just not ready yet.
And you know where I really got free from that particular part was one time I used to always do it. Like I'm watching something on YouTube, like this real dope sermon. I'm getting so much out of it. Or I'm listening to this speech, or I saw this YouTube video and I try to send it to somebody and they like, all right, yeah, that was cool. Like, man, you ain't hear what they said. They boom, 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 boom. It was like, it was cool. Like,
that's annoying when people do that.
It is, but it's just like, I can't expect them to get what they got, what I got. It's a little different.
I guess, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I guess what I'm asking, maybe to make it more clear, I hear what you're saying, what both of you are saying, I get it. I guess to make it more specific and make it more clear is that when a person does not want to or really feel the need to receive affirmation from their significant other in the relationship, but on the other hand, the flip side, they're always pouring affirmation into that person, but yet when that person wants to then turn around and pour affirmation into them or to build them up, so to speak, they really don't want to receive it or really kind of like reflect it the other direction.
Got it. And for me, I personally feel in this particular example of who you're describing, I really feel it's a love language issue. So for that person that might be really trying to pour wisdom, affirmations into that person on the receiving end, that might not be their love language. They might not love affirmations the same way the other person does. And then that particular person that's giving the affirmation strong and that person is knowing that the other person is really receiving it, they know that that person loves words of affirmation. They know that that's their thing, that they're going to be receptive, they're going to receive it. But then on the flip side, they're like, you can keep giving it to me, but that's just not me.
That's not
like,
what I want to accept.
I don't want that. Like, maybe I need something else. And, you know, my suggestion, Roland, if this is you in this particular situation or a friend of yours, I would suggest really going into the love language book. And if you're already familiar with it, somebody else is already familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Gary Chapman book.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
As a matter of fact, I have a copy. I have the book.
Absolutely. That's great.
In my house.
And now I would take it to another level with it. So really pray and ask God, okay, these might be my love languages, but can you help magnify them? Can you help magnify them with my significant other or this particular person in my life? Because I really want to make sure that they are receiving the kind of love that I know that they need from you. So let me be the vessel. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, truth be told, real talk, I need to learn. I don't know what my love language is. I know that my wife is affirmation and other things, but mine I really don't know. By the way, saw you at the book signing last week. It was great.
Oh, awesome.
It was wonderful. So proud of, was at your wedding, so proud of you and your wife for what
thank
you
you.
all
I
are doing.
appreciate that. Thank you.
And so
Thank
we're
you.
going to answer the second part of your question was about self-esteem and what if somebody is having a self-esteem issue. And honestly, somebody's self-esteem issue, you can't make your own self-esteem issue. It's something that they have to deal with themselves. As much as we want to rescue our significant others and we want to, like you said, pour into them that you are beautiful, you are smart, you got this whole thing going on. Unless people see it for themselves, they'll never be able to accept it. It's a matter of you having a conversation with you and believing in you and having faith that you're going to be able to do and look and feel the way you want to feel. But most of the time when we can't look into ourselves, it's when we don't have a great amount of self-esteem. So as much as you want to tell a person like you're beautiful, you're smart, you can walk into any room and get any person you want to, unless they believe it, you have to believe in yourself first before anybody else will. So I think like as their significant other, you just really have to pray that is revealed to them and just to be encouraging but not overbearing.
Absolutely. And I totally agree.
Well,
Go ahead.
The flip side, real quick, and I'll let you go, 'cause I know you probably have other callers. The flip side is the self-esteem is not with the significant other, but it's with with this person. So, but thank you, and thank you for your time. Great show, great station. Love the station, love the show.
Well, thank you for calling in. All right, so Manny, thank you for taking that call. But I wanted to make sure I got in these other questions for you real quick. Because I asked Marlia the same question too. How did, when you connected with Marlia and you guys decided that you were going to be in this relationship together, how did your relationship change with other people? Because as you know, when people see you, they always have an opinion about what you're doing. How did your relationship change with people, and how did you guys deal with that as a couple?
Well, there were people that I had to cut off, people she had to cut off. And it was a little uncomfortable for both of us sometimes. But we had to either change the dynamic or set new parameters for those relationships. But as far as like my friends, close friends, men and women, I really made sure that she was introduced to them initially so that she could get to a place of comfortability with those individuals, because they were hopefully going to be a part of my life moving forward. And it was interesting, one of my best friends that I call my sister, this young lady named Makia, we have been like so cool for years, but I never introduced her to my ex-wife, and she didn't come to my wedding. And it wasn't that I didn't want her to, but for some reason it just never got to the point where I introduced her. But it's like initially with Marlia, I was like, hey, you got to meet Kia.
And this is it. So I'm just glad that you said that, because people don't realize, like, people will tell you, like, we've been riding, this is the clique, we've been together forever, but not everybody is meant to go on every journey with you. And I think that when you get that in your mind frame, that like, if this is really what you want, if you feel like this is the person for you, you have to be willing to go that extra step and have conversations. Like, we can communicate about it. You can tell me what your dislikes are, what your likes are, but at the end of the day, it's my life, and I have to make this decision. So I'm so happy you guys were able to connect that way. How can friends and family support people in their singleness? Because you were single for a while, Marlia was single for a while, and it's really hard, because I think sometimes we hear like, girl, when you gonna get married? So-and-so's getting married. We watch so many people live their lives and people compare lives. What can friends and family do for somebody that's waiting, that is stuck in the wait right now, and they haven't made a decision about how they're going to go back into the dating scene? How can we support them?
I think the main part would be to, I don't know, it's kind of weird, because in a sense, you almost need to let that family member know, or close friend, really where you are in your singleness. Are you somebody that's dating a whole bunch of people? Are you just out here thotting? Like, you gotta let them know where you are so that they can help support. I think that sometimes family has a hard time supporting because they don't know what you're doing.
True. And I think it's a matter of you being honest too, like being honest with yourself and being honest with them. And I mean, there's going to be some people that will, shun you and be like, girl, you're getting older. You should really get married now. But I think you have to be comfortable enough to not necessarily put somebody in their place, but politely be like, okay, auntie.
You
had
do.
enough.
You do. You do.
I had enough. So I need to know what you guys have going on next. Let me tell you, when I was talking to Manny on the phone the other day, I'm like, so when is the book coming out? The couple's book coming out.
Absolutely.
And so I'm excited because Marlia has her book. Manny, can you drop your 3 books for us? Because you have 3 books out.
Yeah, so I have the first one is called Who's Managing Your Life? And that's just primarily about managing you and not putting the blame on anybody else, but taking accountability. The second one is called 30 Days of Management. That's a piggyback from the first one and takes them on a 30-day journey of different things, like their career, their imagination, helping them to kind of really unlock these things that they might have mismanaged for so long, and just reading a few pages every day. The third one is called No More Discounts, Realizing Your Worth Within Relationship. And that particular book is really taking a healthy look at who you are as it relates to other people. And not just in terms of romantic relationships, but really with everything. Like if you are a business owner, no more discounts. Like really realize your worth in this relationship with your customers, your clients, and getting to the point where you're okay with the best version of who you are, and you're not trying to change for anybody else. You're not staying in those relationships where somebody's belittling you, putting you down, disrespecting you. You realize your worth in every single relationship with your mama, your daddy, your kids. You don't allow your kids to take you to a different place you don't want to be.
I know that's right, because you know your kids can take you there.
Sure can, yeah.
All right, so how can we reach out to you? How can like if they have questions, I'm sure after this they're going to have questions. How can we reach out to you? How can we get some coaching?
Yeah, so they can definitely on social media. On Instagram, Manny_Hall. Facebook is just Manny Hall.
Sorry, guys.
And they can visit my website as well, www.mannyhall.com.
Okay, now, so can we look forward to a relationship? Because I think, like I told you earlier, I am so there for a good love story, and I think this is an excellent story. Are you and Marlia planning for the future to have a book come out?
Like, yeah, we definitely want to. I actually want to do something called I Love You and I Hate You at the Same Time.
That's a good one. And that is describes so many relationships. You could be so in love with a person and you could hate them at the same time. So can you drop words of wisdom as we get ready to take off?
Absolutely. So whoever is out there, whether you're single or married, like, where am I looking?
Looking right there.
Okay. Like, really try your best to get to a place of peace within yourself. Like, you're not ever going to be perfect. Stop trying to do that, but really fall in love with who you are. As we talked about earlier in the program, like, you have to believe in yourself before you can do anything, before you can have a great marriage, great business. Like, you have to believe in yourself. Everybody's opinion is always going to be out there, but you have to get to a point where you believe in you, and that message that you constantly tell yourself is, I'm awesome, I'm great, I'm amazing, I'm going to conquer this. I can take this. I'm going to be great. Nothing can stop me. You have to tell yourself those things on a constant basis. I have to tell myself those things. There are times you're going to feel up. Sometimes you're going to feel down. But you got to keep pushing.
Okay, so hotties, you heard it from Manny Hall. He just coached us into something new. As always, you can follow me and the hottest kids on all my social media at Just One Hot Mom, and go on over and check out the blog, because we're talking about where my girls is at justonehotmom.com. Guess what, guys? You've been tuned in and you've been elevated. Talk to you soon.